In other words, they're bullies, most of them. Not all of them, most of them. That's what soldiers are. They're killing machines. We would take soldiers and send them back to school to teach them to become problem solvers, not killing machines. In other words, how do you get to nations that think differently than we do? Well, when I was a kid, I was designing this system, and the thinking is talking to yourself. If I say, I'll see you Saturday, she goes, like, I have to take the kids to Aunt Minnie's, I can't make it. Thinking is nothing magic, it's talking to yourself. So I was talking to myself, I said, how are you going to bridge the difference between nations? I said, I don't know. That's the most difficult thing to learn to say. I don't know. Most people have opinions about everything. You think man will ever get to the moon? Not in 1,000 years. Do you study rockets and acceleration? No, just an opinion. Everybody is brought up to have a right to their own opinion. I'm sure you remember that. Well, if you're brought up to have a right to your own opinion, if you lived across the way from me and I see 10 guys coming out of your apartment, I can have all kinds of opinions. You can be a language instructor, ballet instructor, but if you give everybody a right to their own opinion, you're going to have man will never fly, man will never get to the moon. Get all kinds of opinions. We don't want that. We want people to have access to real information, all people. And that's what the internet is today. It's the nearest thing to democracy. But there's a lot of people who would like to control it, believe me. And if they ever succeed in taking that away from you, you won't get new points of view. So your schools are all regimented, all of them. All teachers use language like this. They look at the way a child spells something and they say, that's wrong. When you say that's wrong, there's no information in those words. Think about it. But if engineers talk to each other, they have to use a larger bolt and a washer. They go into descriptive systems. Schools do not. They give you an A. If you're born with a larger brain, with better neurotransmitters, you become a fascist faster. The brain has no mechanism, by the way, for deciphering that which is relevant. That's experience. When a fox sees a porcupine, it has no idea what it is. And it gets closer and closer till it gets stuck. Then they say it's learned. Its behavior was altered by the pain. So people say a Chinese baby. Generations of speaking Chinese, they figured at one time that a Chinese baby might learn to speak Chinese a little faster than an English baby. So they brought an English baby and a Chinese baby together, and they both learned at the same speed. No Chinese baby was ever born speaking Chinese. No American baby was ever born speaking English. So people came from all over the world, and they brought ideas to America. The printing press, they brought language, mathematics. An Arab named Algebra gave us algebra. Louis Pasteur, probably most of you would be dead if it wasn't for Pasteur. We owe so much to so many nations that to build separate viewpoints is dangerous. Now, if you consider World War II, those of you that remember the newsreels where Germany was flattened out, Britain was bombed flat, and the 400 ships on the bottom of the sea, I'm talking about freighters, with manganese, tungsten, all kinds of valuable material. If you add up the cost of World War II, you could have housed everyone on earth, built hospitals all over the world, wiped out poverty all over the world, once and for all. How stupid can you be? You look up to military with their medals. They are super ignorant people in the Pentagon. Otherwise, they'd ask, what's the cause of war? Why do people kill each other? They don't ask those questions. Yes, sir. It was the U.S. Army that dumped 65 tons of nerve gas off the coast of Miami. Did you know that? Near the Gulf Stream. Yes, sir. They're taught to obey. I don't want people that obey. I want people that think their way through things, solve problems, not put people in jail. When you take a person that's conditioned to be a criminal because they're brought up in a scarcity environment that behaves differently, if you don't know what that means, if you were brought up in Sicily and somebody looked at your sister with sexual intent, you make a fist and you whack them. Well, really, to show you how little people understand, take the Bible. Jesus, I asked a priest, why did Jesus insult God? He said, I don't remember Jesus insulting God. They taught me, they tried to teach me that God was omnipotent, knows everything, made every bug, every planet, everything in the galaxies. And then Jesus, just before they crucified him, he looks up and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And God, gee, I didn't know that. How can a person be omnipotent? You tell them what to do. God bless America. Who the hell are you to tell God who to bless? I'm trying to tell you how stupid people are. They're made that way, of course. They're not born that way. Bigotry and prejudice is learned. So we think that some people are nice, some aren't, some are lazy, some are hardworking. Not true. All people can become creative. When you read about Leonardo da Vinci, they tell you that he was ahead of his times. No, the times were behind Leonardo da Vinci. And he associated with people who talked of gears and levers and things you wouldn't be interested in. Nobody can come forth with brand new ideas. So I was invited to express some of these values at Princeton. But I didn't want to talk to the sociology department. I wanted to talk to everybody. So I said that man can't think a reason. That made everybody angry. And they all came to the auditorium rather than the sociology department. And before I uttered one word, some guy from the optics department got up. I'm talking about a traditional teacher. And he said, I disagree with you. I think man can think. I said, give me one example. He says, there are thousands. Just give me one. He said, well, somebody had to invent a camera. There was a time when there was no camera. And that's the kind of crap you're given. So I said, did you know that 1,000 years ago in China, if you were in a dark building or the Holy Land, if there was a hole in that building, if some of you don't understand that, if you go into a barn, it's dark in the daytime. If there's a knot hole pushed out so you can see daylight, you'll see the cows walking upside down on the walls inside the barn. Anybody understand that? Will you raise your hands? That's the box camera. That's where it came from. So in the Holy Land, when the guy lived in a clay hut and you saw people walking upside down, he charged 2 pieces of silver to see the upside down world. Now in China, years ago, they cut out a girl in this position. It was called a dancing girl. It was a laminated cardboard. Now the Chinese took some bamboo paper and oiled it so the girl would cast a shadow on it. The girl was about this size, and she was in a fixed position. But if you put a candle in front of her, about 3 feet, as the candle flickered, the girl danced. If anybody doesn't understand, you put a candle behind a pencil and it flickers up and back, the pencil shadow moves. If you put 3 candles, you got 3 dancing girls. So nobody ever invented the movie camera. The Chinese developed bamboo paper and laminated together. Or they built separate piece of paper and they stitched it together. Then they wrote the Chinese characters up and down. But in the corner of the paper, they made an indication of what subject on each page. If you happen to flip it fast, that little mark in the corner jumped around. It didn't take long for a Chinese artist to draw a bird with the wings in different positions in the corner of the page. And if you flip it, the bird does this.